welcome to the stream. Today we're going to be talking about drawing some expressive eyes. I think we'll talk a little bit about the overall eye construction and then move on to some expressions. But thank you for coming, and it's nice to meet you all. Let me just turn down the music a little bit. Something like that. We'll see. Okay, before we start though. In case you didn't know, our growing community is filled with tons of art nerds, and we art nerds have to stick together. If you're an art nerd too, be sure to check out the links to our social media website in this description below, and check out our website for our class offerings where you can get critique, guidance, and encouragement from our instructors, because we're not just a YouTube channel, we're an art school too, and if you'd like to support us so we can keep making free content, consider supporting us by becoming a YouTube member for exclusive channel perks like emotes, sub badges, or supporting us on Patreon for as little as $2 per month, where you can get access to tons of perks like our writing files, critique sessions, class recordings, and a huge discount on our classes that have a limited amount of spots. So be sure to check those out before they're gone. Okay. Okay, if the music's still too loud, let me turn it down a little bit more. Is that better? Okay, cool. All right, so I think we've gone over drawing like eyes before, but I guess I'll do a really quick review. I don't think I'll be doing too much about like different styles, but like basically, you know, y'all know the steps. So there's like, you know, a lot of ways you can draw different eyes. There's like, I think the most common way is to just sort of draw like this sort of thing. Give me a second. That was too small. Let's see. So as we all know, you know, in like an eyeball or whatever, it's like, you know, this is like the head of a person. Randomly. You guys don't have to like think too hard about this one. And then your eyes are located in this sort of your eyes are sort of located in this sort of spot here, right? So the way like it comes off when we're drawing it, because we're not really drawing just these like scary looking circles here, is to sort of draw like this sort of like, what we're drawing is really just the like eyelids, right? So for example, if this is just the type of eye we're going to be drawing, this is just kind of like what we're really aiming for. Yes, it's Clip Studio. And if you like really want to like zoom in, then depending on how realistic you want your eyes to be, because you know like we can draw just a lot of different types of like styles. We can draw something like, you know, like so, or we can like be really realistic with it. You know, with like, I think everybody has drawn this before in like their sketchbooks or whatever. with like the eyelashes and stuff. Lots of variation of style. Let's see. Is the music better? I've turned it down a lot, but I'm not sure if it's maybe my recording settings. Okay, but luckily for us, like even though there's like a lot of different ways to sort of draw these sorts of eyes, I'm happy to say we don't actually need to like focus too much on the types, like how we draw the eye, because as human beings, we can get, like as human beings, we're naturally very attuned to how like eyes look, because we're always like looking into people's eyes and stuff. So like, for example, something like this is like very clearly like happy, right? And there's like, you know, we don't really need a lot of stuff to really get that across. And like the same is for expressions like what we're gonna go over, like, you know, and just like stuff like that. Expressions themselves are very simple, and we don't actually need to do a lot to like get these emotions across, because in art, I guess exaggeration is the name of the game. So all we have to do really is, as long as we have like these sorts of if we can draw this, then we can pretty much draw like expressive expressions in like other ways as well, since this is like the important part. So what do I mean by that? Basically, oh, does it? I'll just remove it. Okay. Alright, what was I saying? Expressions, something simple. Yeah, so these are the essential things. All we have to do is enhance these. View is enhance. So yeah, exaggeration is the name of the game here. So I drew a bunch of like really awkward looking heads beforehand, just to like, you know, as like an example for these like for like different types of like expressions and stuff for eyes. And something I want to note is that, I guess we'll start with like happy eyes first, because I think it's probably like the easiest. So like if we want to make something like that for like happy eyes, something that I wanted to point out was that a lot of like expressions for the eyes actually don't really require a lot of, actually, you know what? Instead of heads. Okay, so if we want to make like so we'll have like, pretend this is a neutral eye, right? So for example, these are just some eye expression, some random eyes here. Pretty simple. Pretty neutral. These can look however you want. As you know, there's like a bunch of different ways you can go about it. What makes like to add expression to this eye, actually it doesn't have a lot to do with the like eye itself, but like what's like around the eye sort of. So for example, the eyebrows or the cheeks. So like so eyes themselves. Don't have too much expression. Please tell me if my handwriting is like incomprehensible. Maybe I'll just type everything out at the end so you guys don't have to like squint. Because I think so for example, I'm sure you guys have noticed like, you know, this sort of expression. This is a sort of this sort of expression doesn't actually exist in real life. Like I don't think you really like seen anybody like close their eyes and smile in this sort of way before. But it's actually most likely an exaggeration of like, you know, like somebody like smiling. Let's see. For example, oops. I kind of wish I could bring pictures in here. Bear with me here. Hope everyone's week has been going well in the meantime. Hope everyone's excited for school. So pretending this is like an extremely realistic picture or whatever. So this sort of like simple smiley face is an exaggeration of like somebody just smiling in real life. And you might be like, but how? Well, when somebody smiles in real life, their cheeks, I don't know if you smile and you're like touching your cheeks, I guess, you'll kind of notice that your cheeks push up like this when you smile. And then your eyes just kind of like, because that happens, your eyes just take on this sort of like crescent shape. And I always feel like your eyebrows also like, they kind of do this, like sort of this thing, if you're not like super surprised as well. They like squint a little bit. So then it just kind of pinches your eyes down a little more to create this sort of shape. And then that's how it always comes back to this sort of thing again. Push up when you smile. Sure. So it's sort of like in this sort of way that your eyes like seem really animated, because you have, I think most people have like eyebrows or like their brow ridge, and then they also have their cheeks around it, which do a lot of squash and squish because your eyeballs are like kind of set inside your skull, so they don't do too much on their own. Most of it is just like the surrounding flesh. Oh yeah, it does. Maybe maybe I should change it to like something a little nicer. Actually, no, I don't think it's as clear. Bloody eyes it is. Alright. So with that in mind, alright, so here's our like attempt at drawing some eyes. Of course, I did choose to make them 3/4 profile because because you know, why wouldn't I? But like, this should apply to like generally other views as well. So if we're gonna be drawing happy eyes, you know what? Let's just try something like, just so we have like a better frame of reference. Let's just do like really neutral eyes first. So like, for example, and if we want to like, if you guys want to follow along, I feel like eyes are pretty... Oops. You can start however you want, from like the first lid or the second one. There's like, you know, they're sort of like diamond shapes, sort of. But there's a lot of eye variation, of course. So if we've got like, you know, our just like very neutral, like plain looking eyes that just kind of do, they're kind of just staring. So as we can see, eyes by themselves look very like kind of right? Like very like, maybe for like a really cool character, if somebody's very like calm, collected, and not too expressive, this is totally fine. I think like, you know, eyebrows kind of have to go with like the eye, so like, you know, the eyebrows would probably also just be like really like a very like simple neutral type of position as well. That's fine. In contrast, I feel like it always kind of helps to like if you have a mirror or whatever, well, if a character doesn't have, okay, so what if a character doesn't have eyebrows? So if a character doesn't have eyebrows, just like for a frame of reference, have you guys seen like those characters which are kind of like, but they have like this sort of like prominent brow ridge like this, even if they don't really have eyebrows? Usually like I feel like people tend to give them to like very like angular characters because of just the way it looks, but basically if you don't have like, if their character doesn't have eyebrows, you just use the brow ridge. So like which is here, because it still has like the form is still the same. The eyebrows are more like just these like are more like these lines that just sort of enhance it a little bit more. Kind of like an arrow pointing down a road. Like the road is still there, but the arrow helps. If that makes sense? Stuff like that. But yeah. Oh, I know like sometimes it can get also tricky because there's also like characters that like kind of go like, you know, those characters that have like really tiny eyebrows like that? I feel like this is like usually also for people who aren't supposed to be that expressive. Otherwise, like you just do the same thing with like and try to imply like the brow ridge, but like just with those like little dots. Yeah. Alright, so in contrast to like happy eyes, when somebody smiles, I do have like these like opacity a bit low because we probably will need to change the face shape a little bit just to figure this out. But yeah, so like eyes have a sort of gesture to them too, so you can either we'll start with like the simplified version one, I guess. So like we have like, you know, this sort of thing. I feel like this is just like a really extreme exaggeration of like just smiling happy eyes, because like if you wanted to, we could just also add like the actual eyes in like that, right? But I do think this like adding the eyes does sort of diminish the effect a little bit. So I do understand why like we would just choose to do this instead. I feel like this does look a little bit more joyful. So that's why people probably choose to do this. Also, I think it's just like faster, right? And because I think this sort of thing it did originate in like manga where you do have to work really fast. That's just how the cookie crumbles, I guess, where we just got so used to seeing this in cartoons. It's kind of like part of like the universal language now. For eyebrows, I feel like the eyebrows also do a lot to change the expression. So for example, like you can always do like very like gentle kind of eyebrows. Like something like this, I think always looks really cute, like very like really, what's the word, like airy, kind of a little bit light. But I think there's like a lot of different smiles we can do. It's like, so for example, I'll just like even remove this smile just to like kind of hammer home the concept, I guess. I feel like if you also just do like sort of a twist, it kind of looks like a different type of smile, you know? Like, Maybe I'll just put them next to each other. So this is like a normal happy thing. Then we could just maybe move this to like this one. Maybe they need to be a little bit lower. But if we change like the eyebrows, yeah, it looks worried. Like maybe instead of like haha funny, this one is like are you sure about that? Are you sure you want to drink that expired milk? Yeah, exactly. Like maybe like she just discovered that like she was line arting on the wrong layer or something. So like happy? Eyebrows help dictate the expression. I guess the subtler expressions. So true. It's like, you know, when you go to like a party, or like, no, you go to like, you just kind of go out, right? Like just to hang out with people, and then it turns out it's like a huge group, and you're like, oh, I see. It's not a hangout, it's a party. Whoops. I think it can also be like I feel like this is actually used for very like sinister looking characters, which is really funny because this is just how people like really just look when they're happy in real life. But I guess we're so used to the closed eyes that like revealing your eyes looks kind of scary now in like art, which is really interesting how that turned out. Like this looks kind of like Oh, that's a good point. So wouldn't happy eyes have white pupils normally? Is that a style choice? Also, would the color of the eyes contribute to the expression of the character as a whole? I think so. I'm not sure what you mean by white pupils. Because like, I guess like the black thing is the pupil? And then the color is like the iris. Am I wrong? I hope I'm not wrong. I don't think so. I'm just kind of doing like no pupil just for like to speed things up a little bit. But I think the color does like help because like, I mean, it's art, you know, you can do whatever you want. So like if I did add like red pupils, looks a little bit threatening. Just a little bit. Yeah, there's also like that's a good point. So if there's like the white in somebody's eye, it might just be the, like this thing is like a highlight. Fun fact, I guess. So when you're like coloring an eye, the light, so the highlight, I know a lot of anime will do it like sort of the highlight, like, you know, like it kind of goes like pretty crazy, right? Like kind of like that. The highlight is just to suggest that the eyeball is round, really. So personally, I like to make them a little bit like that because then it kind of gives the eyeball like that sort of like, you know, roundness because it is an eyeball, sort of. And I know like a lot of like animes might put a lot of like highlights like everywhere. Realistically, quote, realistically, the highlight is generally actually more on the lower side of the eye. So like it would be like around here, or like if your eye is like colored, for example. So we'll just do this quickly. So if you did choose to color this like scary red eye, the darker color, so like your shadow would actually be over on the top, and then your lighter color would be on the bottom, like that. And then I can go back and just fix the highlight a little bit. And the highlight doesn't have to be too big either. And if you did want to do like extra fancy stuff, like, you know, this sort of thing that people do on like realistic drawings, where they make this like line, sort of. Yeah. So the reason is because like the shadow is like the shadow of the eyelid. So there is like, you know, some sort of like rhyme and rhythm to the whole like coloring the eyeball thing. And then because like, you know, technically it's supposed to be something like that, realistically, I guess. Then like the light would sort of hit over this eyelid This is a really funky eyelid, I know. And then the light would just be like over here. I know this might be a little bit weird, but it's also like it's kind of a weird concept to wrap around, because even though the eyeball is like round, so you would assume like that it would be like, you know, like lighting a ball, so the light should be here and then the shadow should be like, you know, like down here, right? Which is the case for the whites of the eyes, so like the eyeball. So you would still want to, like, if you were coloring, you would want to sort of make this part, like the whites kind of lighter, and then darker as like the, I think I'll just add like some sort of gradient. You would want to add something like this, right? But the thing with the iris is that the iris itself is actually, what's the word, concave. So if we were to turn like the eyeball, it would look something like that. Hello. So like if this, you know, this, I don't know, this freaky red eye, it would look something like this. So as you can see, like the iris is actually kind of this, it's like this dip sort of inside the eye. And then like this little like bubble on top is just like, I forget what it's called, the cornea. Like it's just like the lens of the, like, it's like of the eye that helps us like see stuff. So the iris is concave. And because this is like the iris is concave, so there's also like the shadow of like the eyeball up here, which is why it would be lighter at the bottom and darker at the top. Hehe. But of course, this is just like, you know, for like, I guess more realistic types of coloring, if that's like something you're interested in. If it isn't, it's like totally fine. Let's see. So okay, I'll just remove that. Let's see. Iris. Alright, back to the eyes. Yeah, so as we can see, eyebrows, let's see. If we wanted to make this like happy, scary. So if we want to make this maybe like a little less threatening, I think softening the brows, like making this sort of expression, could make it a little better. But if we want to like, or I don't know, like if we like make it sort of angry eyebrows, then like already it looks a bit like, I feel like something is gonna happen. Thank you for liking my handwriting. Okay. Oh, I think there's also like, let's see. Like there's like different ways you can sort of make this look a little bit less severe. For example, if you just kind of like make it your eyes a bit larger. It looks a little bit less like, a little less threatening, so. I mean, I guess we can even go like farther. You know how it can be. You'll notice that the cheeks also, like when your cheeks are kind of pushing your eyes up, it's kind of in like a little V shape. So I think that's always a nice thing to note to help like center your drawings a little bit. Yeah, I think people like know this sort of thing exists, so they're just like subverting expectations a lot. Okay, so for like on the opposite end, for like sad eyes. Sad eyes are a little bit tricky because I feel like we said before, eyes themselves don't have too much expression in them. It's more like the, like the agony, like the, or like, the suffering in someone is mostly in like the amount of like, I mean, I call it like flesh scrunch because like, which is like really, I feel like eyebrow heavy. I feel like when I'm drawing like for eyes in particular, like especially if you're like crying or whatever, your face is pretty like crunched. I think it's like if you just want something like really very simple. I feel like already like just something like this can like add to it. What I like to do sometimes is add like little I don't know, like little wrinkles. Sometimes because I feel like when you're upset, your face will sort of have tension in it. But I feel like it's mostly better for like the if you're drawing like the whole face. For eyes, it's really just like the eyebrows. And of course tears, right? Tears. Where do I get my brushes? Okay, so all of my brushes are a mess from just a bunch of different types of brush sets that I have found online. A lot of these are from the Clip Studio Paint Assets library. So if you go into like the Clip Studio, not Clip Studio Paint, but Clip Studio, which is like located here, like open Clip Studio, it should pop you out into this sort of like little thing that, this sort of window that makes this little window that has like an asset library in it, and then you can just use it to like browse through some brushes and stuff. Although it is a little bit hard to navigate. Okay, so sad eyes. Of course, there's like, tears and stuff that you can draw. You can draw them in like a variety of different ways. But I think like, just sort of adding like the tension of your eyebrows, kind of furrowing. Like if you like look in the mirror and then you just kind of like furrow your brow, you'll notice a lot of stuff happens like around this area, and I think that's what can determine a lot of how like you want your eyes to emote. Something like that. Yeah, the mirror really helps. It definitely like depends on like the angle of like how you draw your eyebrows, because like, you know, if you do something like too angled like this, it looks just kind of like you're angry sad instead of like you're suffering sad. So like you kind of want to like angle things a little bit. I don't know, something a little bit like more open like that in the different like slant. Stuff like that.
Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go.
And then you can add like your little wrinkles and stuff, just to see how it might like look. Or something like, oh, where that's all the heads. All right. All right, gotta draw more. Okay. I think closing your eyes is also like can like make you seem kind of sad. Like, or like, I guess like, you know, when those like characters are like crying. I always like to add like, you know, these sorts of like wrinkles, because like when you're like really closing your eyes, you're like almost squinting sort of, or just not squinting. It's like, you know, like when you're just really closing your eyes, and then it's kind of also like drawing like angry eyes as well. Of course, it's like it can be difficult because like I said, if you don't angle your eyebrows correctly, then it just comes off as like maybe more angry than like tortured or whatever. So you need to add like this sort of like slant, like this squiggle sort of to it. And then of course, like if you did want to move it further, I feel like it's just the more wrinkles the better. I don't know, I like drawing wrinkles. I think it's like it's helpful. Oh, and then like of course you can also mess around with like the head shape as well. Like when compared to like when like the brow is like open, there's gonna be like, because you're squishing, it's gonna like kind of rise a little. And the same will happen with like the cheeks, sort of. And if you add like, I don't know, tears or something. Yeah, that's my reaction too. If you wanted to add tears, like, you know, like, kya or something, maybe it's just like... something like that. Or like overwhelmed with emotion, you know, and you're like, so you like cover you shut your eyes really tight. Trying to add like a little like, oh, there's also like, you know, I'm sure now this I'm certain you guys have seen where like sometimes it's like something terrible happens to like a character or whatever, and then they're just like extremely like numb looking, you know, like the eye bags. That helps. That makes people definitely look really tired or you know, like something's wrong. Hello, hello. So having a very like flat expression can also help eye bags. Clearly this person has seen shit. I also like, I don't really know what the effect, like where this sort of came from. I think it's just supposed to mimic like the glassy-eyed look, but you know how sometimes like they will also just do this sort of like hatching in like the middle of the eye, sort of to I guess to show like unfocusedness. So like this guy is looking but just not seeing because they're just suffering so much. But yeah, so there's that. So a lack of emotion can also help, since it doesn't have to be all you know, it doesn't have to be all energy all the time. And as you can see, because like, you know, in comparison to like the brow is like the eyebrows are kind of open in comparison to like this one where they're like squished, it does change like the face shape. So let's see, so this one, brow has tension. Sort of. And then this, like, you know, depending on like, you know, if it's like like you do a smile, it's like, oh, this is fine sort of expression. But if you just do like, I don't know, something like, then it looks a little bit more like numb, like, oh, just maybe like not thinking at all because they're just too overwhelmed with like grief or something. What drawing program do I use? I'm using Clip Studio Paint. The reason why my Clip Studio Paint looks so funky is because my thought process for my weird looking UI is I'm right-handed, so my hand rests on this side of the screen a lot. So it's just, I feel like it's faster for me to be able to pick everything in like one area before I go draw everything on like my screen. So that's just what my I don't know, my brain process. Hi Justine. How do you draw eyes that are sort of surprised? Oh, that's a good one. Okay, so, oh, yes, I'm so glad you asked because I wrote this down that I want to talk about it, but I completely forgot because of course I did. So, I feel like in, this you actually can do with just like mostly your eyes. Because like in a lot of like shows and like cartoons and stuff, I feel like when people are like, you know, drawing eyes and stuff, so as opposed to like, you know, this is like a normal looking eye, if somebody's like really surprised or like, you know how it is, like they're like walking and then like they get attacked or something by like a sword or some guy flying at them with a punch, and then like they have like this sort of like zoom in like type of like gasp, you know, like this sort of like expression. Yeah, so I think so that's actually pretty good. Like I think that's a really good like visual language to adopt, because like you can kind of do this with everything, like, and it's also very versatile. Like let's see, I feel like it's not limited to just like a certain style or anything, like like this, especially it's like you can add a bunch of things like around it just to spruce up your like surprised look. Like maybe if it's just like a very like just shock but like not really like screaming, it would just be like I like adding eye bag wrinkles. I don't know, that's my fatal flaw. I think it adds stuff to it. You know how like in anime they also shake as well, so like they'll just be like shaking in like place. I wish I could animate really fast. Yeah, so, and then of course, you know, eyebrows can really can help with that. Like if it's something like this, it's more like, it's like, oh my gosh, what the hell happened? But then like if it's something like maybe it's just like extra angry, you know? Because this doesn't necessarily mean like, it doesn't have to mean like surprise, it can just mean intense emotion. Or like, I think it's supposed to signify anxiety. I think this is like somebody is just really going through it. And then that's what it's supposed to signify. I don't think it necessarily means surprise. Exactly. This one does look done. Like, you can also like, you know, if they're like clenching their jaw or whatever, it's like, oh, that guy. But then, or maybe it's just like, I feel like sometimes if you have just like a really small mouth instead of a large mouth, it can like signify surprise better, because it's like this person is just so shocked that they can't really formulate an expression yet. Small pupils, I'll just move this here maybe. And you can also change the size of that. Yeah, like they're speechless. You can change the size of that also, just to like sort of like mild surprise, like, oh, is that what happened? So it doesn't have to be like too extreme as well. Like, oh. So that's something. If you do want to draw like the I've seen like this effect in like anime sometimes. Like usually it's like, you know, when like in Bleach. Okay, yes, so in Bleach, like there's sometimes if it's like, you know, just somebody like looking somewhere and like, I don't know, someone's like throwing their like sword at them, there's like this effect where they'll just like have the iris really large but then dilate the pupil sort of. I think this is also supposed to be like hyper focus, like to signify hyper focus and like shock. But like these guys are like, you know, super swordsmen or whatever, so they're just like, they're able to react to it in like really, really fast way. Like, ooh. But That's not really anything important, just something that I thought was cool. What other expressions are there? I haven't done angry right yet, I think. I love Bleach! I think the art style is really cool. SMUG. Have you done SMUG? Oh, hello. Now I'm flustered. Alright, so, oh. I guess SMUG, let's see. I feel like it also, it always helps to like just to have like a different angle of the face as well. Because if it's a smug person, they're like looking down on you. So I guess, but for like something limited to this, I think that, you know what we were drawing before with the you know, like the sort of smiley sort of eyes, but like oh haha. I don't even think this needs to be like that narrow. Maybe something a bit like lowering one eyebrow, raising the other. Maybe a little bit like more angled, like angry, because like it's not like they're afraid or anything. It's more like they're like, what the heck is going on here? And then something like, if I wanted to make this into like an actual expression, I think I would just turn everything a little bit. I feel like the smugness comes through mostly with like the smile, sort of. Mug smiles, you know? Or actually, I think like half-lidded eyes as well, like the, you know, if like the person is a bit like this sort of eyes, where they have like a heavy lid on top. For these types of expressions, I like to do like this sort of a three mouth, but like really simplified. Like, heh. So I guess adding like really like heavy lidded eyes, like eyelids, kind of gives like the person a sense of carefreeness, or like they're just not they're unburdened by like things that are beneath them. Laid backness. I wouldn't say carefree. Judgmentalness? I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, like the Ojo-sama type of expression. What else was I doing? I think angry? Okay. I feel like angry expressions are pretty fun because they're also like really intense. But like, you know, like we were saying before with like the... I also think like maybe they're really good for dramatic angles. So for something like, you know, with like the super small pupils and then like the super like angular eyes and like wrinkles and stuff. And that we can always afford to like maybe add like shadows or something if we really want to like make this. I do feel like adding this thing for like the next to the nose also helps, but that's like a stylistic choice. Oh yeah, thick eyebrows. I guess eyebrow size also helps. Like I think adding really thick eyebrows, something like this, would probably make them look a little bit more angry than a thin eyebrow person, I suppose. Full side profile? How do you do this full side profile? Like where the eyes are? For like, I guess for expressions, for like, for example, like a side profile, this angry expression, I would try to follow like some of the shapes that are happening for the face. So like, for example, if like a neutral one would be like something like this. Your eyes can kind of go like, I don't know if you guys like have like spent as much time as I have in a character creator, but the eye depth can vary a lot. So when I say eye depth, I mean like where like the eye placement is. So like if you want, I feel like you can move, you have a lot of room to like move this eye around depending on what your character looks like. I think it looks fine if it's like here. I also think it looks fine if you're like, if you move it back a little like that. I think it just depends on like what your character looks like. In terms of like expressions, I do think following what you have, how you would draw something would be like in like the sort of more showy view would help. For example, if this guy was really angry, his brow would be furrowed as well. And then his nose shape. And then this part, I guess, just really depends on like what you want to focus on. Oh, when you're angry, like your lip does, I feel like, jut out a little. Whether you want to, like, whether you want it to or not, because you're like clenching your teeth. So it's kind of like, it's like a good shorthand, I feel like. Also, of course, you know, the eye bags or whatever. Adding the eye bags makes everything look a little bit cooler, I think. Conversely, I think if like you like your iris can also be really very like slight in these sorts of things. Yeah. Alright, I ran out of heads again. Alright, more heads. Nervous expression. Okay, so these are fun. Okay, so for nervous people, I feel like they won't like if somebody's like nervous, and I'm sure like you get when you guys have ever felt nervous. I don't know, maybe you guys never feel nervous. You're like you won't really look at somebody in the eye. So eye direction, like so when I say eye direction, I mean like oh goodbye. By eye direction, I mean like where the pupil is looking, or like you know the eye color, the iris, the pupil, both of them. They like you know people will side eye. It also kind of makes you look untrustworthy, I guess, which is not great when you're already feeling nervous, but. If I was going to do it, I would also look like maybe like a little bit upward. You know me, I love doing the eye bags. And like it's like a lot of like I guess asymmetry. Cause when you're like kind of nervous, like I feel like you have less control over like what the heck is like what your face is doing, so your expressions kind of get a little bit funky. So let's see. Shifty eye-ness. Is that spelled correctly? I don't know. I also like just adding sweat because I just feel like, you know, when you're nervous, it's like, ugh, is it hot in here? This expression reminds me also like when someone is lying. Yeah, exactly. And like, you know, I feel like then they're like, maybe they're talking a lot, so like that's why like there's just a lot of like stuff going on. I know like this is just like expressions for like eyes and stuff. When you're nervous, especially with me, I feel like I also touch my face a lot, so or like rub it a lot. I guess it's like, oof, what's going on here? So there's also like that sort of like body language you can think of when you're thinking about drawing, like how to express something. As usual, you can exaggerate these features for like different levels of nervousness. Like if somebody's really scared, I guess it depends on like the kind of how you scare. Like I know some people like me are just extremely like they like I mean I freeze up, so I guess outwardly I seem angry because I'm just like really like I just don't really have any expression whatsoever. But actually the truth is I'm just really nervous all the time. So I don't know how that is an evolutionary advantage, but I think we've also seen like that sort of thing where I think it helps if like the characters might be looking down because like they're looking away from people. Also like this sort of like I don't know what it's called, like this sort of like hatching in the pupil like that. I think that also you know like this expression, like I feel like in it like this looks really cute, but like in like if you like push it into like a realistic expression, it can look kind of like oh man. And then of course like the shadows, like if you want to add shadows to make like this all seem so dark and scary. And sweat, of course. I think it also depends on like you know this sort of thing that happens in like manga. Like I think it's supposed to like show like either you're really jittery or like you're stopping really abruptly, so that helps I think. Of course, eye bags help make everything look. They just help. I just think they make everything look a little bit nicer. Your lips will also be really pursed, so it's gonna be a bit like... I guess it should actually be something like this. I guess like maybe if they swallow some, like if they gulp or whatever. I also add more brow wrinkles to raise the stakes. Oops. I'll just leave that. As usual, the eyebrows remain... Personally, I think the eyebrows are the trickiest part, because it's like... You just don't know how something looks until you draw it, I feel like. Oh, one other thing, like adding like more asymmetry, I guess. like just something just doesn't seem quite okay. Like this, you know, something just really doesn't seem right with this guy, that kind of thing. Yeah, Sunday streams are a bit shorter, so... Thanks for coming anyways. Next week is gonna be Iggy, so that'll be fun too. What other expressions are there? Have we drawn every single expression in the world already? Happy winking face. Oh, rolling eyes. That's a good one too. I guess happy. I'll try happy winky face. And then rolling if we have time. Self-explanatory, I think. You can use the eyebrows to help accentuate the expression as well. This one looks a little bit cheeky. Like, haha. Like, meow. I feel like rolling eyes is kind of hard because it's like really easy to make it look weird because it's like a motion. So if you take like kind of, I guess it's kind of like if you just take a frame in like a random animation, it might look awkward because it's meant to be seen together. I think what I tend to do is just do something like, it really depends on like the expression. I hate to say like it depends for everything, but it is a contextual. It also just looks like, I don't know, it does look like they're just like looking up sometimes. So it's like meh. I think tilting the head helps. Like if I could, I would tilt the whole head just to help. These are all stationary because like just to save time, but you know, something like that. Like of course. My bags. Something like that. In love expression. Curious. Okay. Let's see. Unhinged. I'm sure there's a lot to be interpreted from this. I think shadows would help a lot with this sort of thing. Let's see, how would I do this? Personally, I just prefer like more subtle looking things, so of course you're totally welcome to like, I don't know. Make like something a bit more a bit more unhinged looking. Maybe something. I think that looks unhinged. And then you can always go back and add in like with like white, just like, you know, the highlights or whatever of something. I guess it shows up a lot because like my background is gray instead of white, but you get what I mean. Yeah, it's like... This person looks friendly. Sort of. And then you can add like, you know, really strong like wrinkles if you want to add like this guy's really intensely I don't know, being friendly. Yeah, eyebrows. What's my favorite expression to draw? Really like subtle stuff, like you know, like, yeah, like a gentle smile. Stuff like a really like stuff that's like, I guess is just really specific to situations. Like, I don't know, if somebody says hi, like if there's like a character who's like, I don't know, doesn't like crowds, but then they see someone that they do like in the crowd, and then like the gentle sort of like oh, like that, those small sort of emotions. I like drawing those things. Yeah. Tired. I think I drew that before. I'll like post all of these in the Discord later if you guys want to take a look at those later. Curious. Okay. Just like really, just like mild surprise. Technically, I shouldn't be adding like hands or whatever. But like, I also think this is one of those things that would help for with like, you know, like if you could move the head, like head tilt. I think like this sort of mouth expression helps with curiosity, like that kind of thing. And this is like a very, you can like darken the eyes, I think, to sort of make it look less like surprise and more like curiosity. Because I think if it was something like really thin, it would look a bit more surprised than if it was just something like really dark. Something like that. Phew. Head tilt. Oops. Push emotion. And of course, using technology, you can go back and edit all the things that you drew as much as you want, so that it looks a bit, you know, looks a bit more whatever you want it to look like. I can link you the music in the chat. Most of it is non-copyright lo-fi stuff, but the one I'm using is a little bit specific. I don't think so. Do you have a Spotify playlist for this song? I don't think so. I can just link it. What's my favorite genre of music? Good question. I don't listen to a lot of music. What is your least favorite aspect of art? I both really like drawing it, and I also really hate drawing it at the same time. Like the act of drawing. What pen do you mostly use? I use usually turnip pen, which is the default in Clip Studio. It just kind of looks very thin. But I kind of use like whatever is like I randomly choose. But yeah, I think the stream is over now. So thanks for, I'll just zoom in on this lovely thing to end on. Thanks for coming, guys. It was really nice to see you all and to meet you all. And I hope to see you again sometime. hope you guys enjoy school.